Hello everyone and be welcome to the channel Street. And in today's video we're gonna talk about object pooling. And for you that doesn't know what the object pooling is, object pooling is basically a performance booster. It's used for reducing the memory allocation when we instantiate an object and reducing the work that the garbage collector do when we destroy the object. So basically, when we state an object, we storage this object on the pool and don't destroy it. We storage it. So when we want the same object again, we get this object from the pool and use it. The game engine that I use is the Unity, and the Unity has a bunch of old libraries focused on object pooling. These libraries are very useful, but the problem is that when you try to make a whole system with multiples and multiples objects and scripts interacting with each other, the libraries of Unity are not so useful in that case because they are most focused on variables and just one object, and that's why I made a custom pool using my own objects and my own abstractions. And with that abstraction of the base object pool, I can make any object pooling of any object that I want, of projectiles, of enemies, of statistics, of anything that I want, with one single object pooling that replicates all the behavior of the object pool. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how I made it and every single part of it and how it works. So that's the video and let's go to it. So here in the script, this is the old code of the object pool. I show it to you right now. I will explain every single part of it. The most important part is from here to here. This is the almost important part of this code. This part here is important too. I'll explain it. And as the first thing I had to explain is up here. As you can see here, the object pool is an abstracted class, is an abstracted object, and it inherits from a state controller. This state controller, it appeared in the previous videos, but I won't explain it why I have this. I will explain it in the video of the single entry point. No, I explained it in another video, a video about the pause of the game, how to pause properly the game, and continued here. This part here is the instance of the pool. It's basically the children pool. So this abstract object is the father, and the pools that will be made of it is gonna be this here. So this gonna inherit the father, and this gonna be basically the children. This here is the object that will be used by the pool, and this object also have to inherit a state controller that used for the pause, and this object that will be used for the pool had to inherit a interface that is initializer here. And this is interface here is basically this right here. Is basically interface with a statistics, and this statistics have needs to be a scriptable object. This scriptable object is an object that we can save in in our engine, and with the same object we can replicate the same behavior with infinite objects or multiple objects independent of one or any we want. And this method right here It already appears in the video that I made about the projectile, about the movement of the projectile. And as I already seen in that video, if you don't see, I will show to you too. Here we have the statistics is the scriptal object, and it's that this statistics that we pass through here. So it's that this statistic here, that is this scriptal object that I will show in that video. As you can see here, all the statistics we seen in that video are here. In that statistics is a scriptal object that here we pass through here in the initialize method. That's here in the projectile object. Here we have the initialize method that the projectile inherits of the initializer with the statistics passing through here. We have this passing through here. The statistics we pass through the projectile for the projectile, and but we also have this here, this structure. This structure here is this structure here that is basically has a position, a rotation, and a layer. A position and the rotation is the initial position and rotation that the object will be initialized. Here, as you can see, the transform of the projectile initialized in the position and rotation of that is passing through this structure here, and the layer is basically the object that is used by the pool. Can be the pooling can be used by any object of any layer. So it will be used can be used by any layer. So the object that will be used by that layer will be transferred to that layer. The object will be receive the pool. And the last part that we have is also the statistics, but in the object of the pool, because the initializer here had the statistics passing through it in for the initialize method, but we have to pass it through the object for passing it through the initialize here. So we have to pass it. So because the initialize here, the object pool, will use multiple objects, any object we want also the initializer passing through here any statistics we want. So we have to make it. All this is not mandatory. We can make it without it. We can make it all without it. But I made it in that way because to make it all clear, to use it any anytime we want. This here is a pooling of the projectile. So the object that we use is the projectile. Here we have the pool of the projectile, the same object here, passing through it to make a singleton. We passing through here the is instance to here because in the awake of our code we're gonna make a singleton of that instance. So we're gonna get this instance here, that is static instance. We're gonna make a singleton out of it. So that's why we use this. This Here we have the projectile. That's the object used by the pool. The pool is the pool of the projectile. And here we have the statistics, because the statistics we used by the projectile. So this needs to be here, because the initializer needs a statistics. And starting, we have a list of the objects that we want. The object is here, and a list of the object that is basically the pool. Here also we have the active count, is the count of all the objects that are active in the moment of the game. we're gonna attribute it with what we get from the pool, and we're gonna reduce it with pull we put in the pool, and a default state, a default object. This object here, we need this because we have to instantiate the object. Also remember, you have to instantiate to get the object first. So we instantiate the object here. We verify if the default state is not null. If is null, we return the null object. But if not null, we instantiate the object. We instantiate the object, and we got it here to false. And here we got the get state and the release state. We get from the pool. Here we get from the pool, and here we release it again to the pool. Here we put in the pool. Here we get from the pool. But before I explain this, I had to explain this destroyer here. It's basically the destroyer of the pool specifically. We resets the count at the active count because we destroyed the so we don't gonna need the pool anymore. We remove all the objects that don't exist anymore, that are already destroyed, and we're gonna destroy all the objects that we have in the pool here. And after that, we clear our pool. That's basically it. Simple, not so much to explain. After all that came before, I'm gonna explain now the get method that we use to get the object from the pool. The first thing we're gonna do is verify if the default state, the default object that we use for instantiate the object here, up here, we're gonna verify if it's null. If it's null, we return the object that is null. We return null. If it's not, we have object to instantiate. So after it, we're gonna get a object. We're gonna instantiate a variable that is the object. We're gonna verify if the count of the pool is equal or more than the active count. If it's less or equal, I'm sorry to make this mistake. If the count of the pool of the objects that are in the pool are less or equal the objects that are active in the moment that are not in the pool, we're gonna instantiate another object because we don't have an object in the pool. With this verification, we verify if we have an object in the pool. Here we don't have object in the pool, so we have to instantiate another object. We instantiate another object, and we put this object in the pool. We added the object to the pool. And after that, we active the object. We get the object and active the object here. But what happens if we have object in the pool? Well, we just get the first object that is not enabled in the pool because the object is disabled when it's in the pool. So we get the first object that is disabled in the pool. We get this object. We just get it, the object. And after that, we enable this object and return it. That's basically it. Simple, simple, not so much complex things. And release method. This method work when we want to get an object that is outside the pool, and we want to this object that is outside the pool to get into the pool. So we are releasing this object back to the pool. The first thing we're gonna do again is verify if the default object is null, because if is this object is null, is because we can have object in the pool, the pool can work properly, and we're gonna verify if the object that is passing through here, we pass the object through the release, we verify if the pool contains this object, if the pool have this object. If the pool have this object, we're gonna disable the object and gonna reduce the the count of the active objects that outside the pool. And if the object don't are in the pool, if the object that is passing through the release is not in the pool, we just destroy the object. That we don't gonna use the object that's not the pool. And this here is a collision verifier, a trigger verifier that verify if the object that the pool works with collided, triggered this collision here, and we just release the object to the pool. We release it into the pool if the object triggered this collision right here. So that's basically it. Very simple to understand. The the main the main parts are here for you to see. The main parts are here. The initiated part is very important also. The destroy is well also too very important. This part here, I already said that's optional. You can make it or not. I make it because I want it. The default object, the instance of the object using this, the active count, and the list of the object. And that's it. And as I already showed, this here is the is a pool of the object of a projectile. It's a pool that works with the projectile. Here we have the projectile object. This is the projectile object, including I already showed this object already in the previous video that I made. And this is the statistics that the projectile uses that I also too I already showed in the previous video. And that's all. The initializer status that we use, the initializer that we use for the object that the pool uses, the folder pool, and the pool that uses, that inherits the pool. So that's it. And now I'm gonna show you how this works in the practice in the Unity. I'm sorry to interrupt the continuity of this video, but I forget to show the other pools that I made. I have three pools for this project here, for the BankQuest project. The projectile pool that I showed you before, the enemy pool, and the invoker pool. Is that the projectile invoker? That the projectile invoker is that the object that is responsible for invoking, for instantiating the projectiles in the map. So that work is work of this object here. And we have a pool only for this purpose here. And as you can see here, we have the pool of the invoker. The same things I explained before. The stance of the pool, the object that's used by the pool, and the statistics that's used by the object that's used by the pool. Here we have the project invoker that's used by the invoker pool. Here, as you can see, he is responsible for invoking the projectiles in the map. Here we have the statistics. We have different angle for multiple projectiles that we want to instantiate, the relative position where we want to instantiate relative to the projectile invoker, and the statistics of the projectile. We only need the statistics for the projectile because the projectile is instantiated by the pool. The candidates, the time of shoot for each projectile, and the array of the projectile, the list of projectiles we want. And here we initialize it. We made a loop for each projectile. I initialize it that we're gonna pass it for the projectile. As you can see, we get the layer of this initializer that will be the layer of the projectile. We get the rotation of the projectile, and after the rotation, we get the position of the projectile. Here we have the pool of the projectile. We get the method of the projectile. Remember, I showed it before. and the initialize method of this single projectile here. We pass it the statistics, this statistics here. We're gonna pass this statistics here, this in this method right here, and this initialize method here that we attributed here, and we're gonna pass it here. And after that, we're gonna release the invoker into the pool again, to the invoker pool. And we have all the same thing for the enemies. Here we have the enemy pool, all the things, the stance, the object, that's the enemy, and the statistics. The enemy, I'm gonna show the code of the enemy and the statistics of the enemy. I don't gonna show because this is not the purpose of this video. This video is focused on the pool, the pools, the enemy pool, the invoker pool, and the folder pool that makes out the others. And after that, I'm sorry again for that. And after that, now, now certainly to the editor. So right here in the Unity editor, as you can see, we have our game running, and we have here our hierarchy with our objects right here, and also with our pools, the projectile pool, the invoker pool, and the enemy pool. I'm gonna show you also the scene behind the scenes. As you can see here, this collision here is our pools. Every single the 3 of 10 are these are the collisions that the projectiles hit and they are released. I'll show you the collision, the trigger. As you can see here, as you can see the projectiles go there and are released. So this is how the pools work. I also have the enemy pool. I have this enemy spawner here that I place it. This enemy will gonna place just one enemy because I made it in this way. I could make more, but I made the whole one. And as you can see, it used the projectiles. The enemy used the projectiles as he needed, and it's the same mod as he needed to. And that's basically it. So before I finish this video, I made a little modifications here in the scene. As you can see, I have now two enemy spawners, and as I use the first, as you can see, we have the 30 enemies have been spawned alongside the projectiles, and along as I spawn this uses the second spawner, as you can see, we'll do the same thing, and you can see the same projectiles have been used in the same enemies have been used. With 3 enemies have been stationed and 3 enemies have been placed, and the same 3 have been used again. So it won't replace more enemies. We won't station more enemies. So that's basically it. That's all I have to demonstrate in this video. I hope you have liked. Please like. Also subscribe to the channel, please. And comment. Please comment what you want, what type of video you want. I have a lot of things to show to you to make also. And that's it. Goodbye.